Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. How about those Arkansas Razorbacks fans? That's right. There was a big pig invasion late into the night in Nashville that we got to go ahead and break down. And this is really where kind of the bubble conversation comes into our coverage here on the Aaron Torres Pod and Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel. So listen, Arkansas, you don't need me to tell you, Saturday was a debacle, right? And so, again, you don't need me to tell you, but Arkansas did everything right in February to put themselves in position to get into the NCAA tournament. Tough start to the season, whatever. We all know about that. Then you win at Kentucky, you win at Texas, you beat Missouri at home, and everybody's feeling good. Then we got what could only be described as just the debacle of all debacles on Saturday afternoon at South Carolina. Again, you don't need me to tell you. You don't need me to this. You don't need me to that. But 14 points in the first half is not good. Well, I bring it up why I want to start the conversation about Vanderbilt and Arkansas. And where I want to start it is with the comments that we had from John Calipari after the South Carolina game, because I think it was easy to criticize Coach Cal. As it turns out, he was dead right. Producer Matt, give me 1/2 second until we get to that sound, because I got to tell you, there is nothing else to say other than you talk about a signature win for the Arkansas Razorbacks. They go on the road. They beat Vandy 90-77. I'm all over the place to start this segment, but guess what? Arkansas has been all over the place in the month of February and March, but they are playing again really good basketball, and they get a win in a really tough place. Again, 90-77, of course, the win over Vanderbilt, a Vanderbilt team, by the way, that, of course, has already picked up home wins against Kentucky, home wins against Tennessee, etc. And so, listen, again, we could break things down. We'll discuss this game momentarily, but I think the best place to start is actually with Saturday, because Saturday, there's no other way to put it. It was a debacle. It was an embarrassment. It was statistically one of the worst games in Arkansas basketball history, okay? And so after the game, John Calipari made some very interesting comments that I think ruffled a lot of feathers, maybe not so much with Arkansas fans, but with some other fans. Producer Matt, play the tape from Saturday afternoon.
When you go 0 for 17, shouldn't win a game. Someone got to make a shot. You were 0 for 17, you're not going to be in a good game. I told them 8 games like we played, you were due for a dud. It was a dud. Move on. I said, now, what they did to us, they exploited us near the basket, which my guess is every team will try to do now. So we got to figure that out. But I said,
so that was Coach Cal on Saturday after the South Carolina game. I said it on Sunday. I apologize for the video quality. I don't know what was going on there. But we talked about this on Sunday's show, okay? Because when Cal said that, there were a lot of people who criticized him. How do you have one of the worst losses in program history, one of the worst losses since you've joined the SEC, and you just brush it off and say, we played a lot of high-leverage games, we were due for a dud, okay? But if you remember Sunday's show, I kind of defended Cal, and I got a lot of heat in the comments. Oh, Torres, you will never say anything bad about Cal. I believe the word the kids use is glaze. You're glazing Cal, blah, blah. And what did I say at the time? I said, look, it's not a great performance. But I think Cal's mindset is actually right. First of all, I know it's easy to criticize Coach Cal. I know it's easy to say that whatever, whatever. Blame whatever. We know what the narratives are. But what did I say? I said 2 things. One, and this wasn't part of the video, but he said, burn the tape. I said, I agree. You just got to move on and pretend it didn't happen. But the other thing, and here's the truth, is that what I said at the time was, he's right. They did play 8 really high leverage games from February 1st through the South Carolina game. If you go back and look, Arkansas, from February 1st when they went to Kentucky through the South Carolina game, 8 games. They were 5-3. The only 3 losses, as we know and as we've discussed, Alabama at home, at Texas A&M, at Auburn. And so basically you played, and by the way, every single game, even the losses were close. They were competitive. You had a chance to win. And those 3 losses are on top of the emotion of going to Kentucky, the emotion of going to Texas, the emotion of beating Missouri, the emotion of beating Texas a second time at home. And so I only bring it up to say that, yeah, they kind of were due for a dud. They hadn't played a really bad game in probably 2 months. And oh, by the way, early tip-off against South Carolina, last place team. I'm not making any excuse, but what I said was everybody has had bad games. Auburn wasn't good against Texas A&M on Tuesday night. I promise you that. Alabama lost by double figures at home to Ole Miss. Everybody has had moments this season. And so I said, it's not that big of a deal as long as you don't let one loss become more than one. Well, to Arkansas's credit, they did not, with what I would argue, I can't say it's a better performance than, say, the Kentucky game a few weeks ago. But given that you're without Adu Thero still, and that's another conversation that I don't even know where I want to go with that one, like that was as good of a performance as you've had. 90 points. You did it on the road in a place that, again, a lot of teams have lost throughout the season. Missouri just lost there this weekend. Tennessee lost there. Kentucky lost there. I would add this too. Vandy, outside of Auburn coming into Tuesday, probably the hottest team in the SEC. Vandy had won 4 straight games against ranked opponents coming into Tuesday night. 4 straight wins over ranked opponents. They are playing really good basketball, and Arkansas gets the win. Obviously, the highlight, Trevin Brazil. Listen, you got to give credit where it's due, man. This is a guy that's taken, first of all, just an emotional 3 years in Fayetteville, looking like a lottery pick under Eric Musselman in 2022. He gets hurt, comes back. Last year, he's clearly not the same player. And it's been up and down under Coach Cal, and it's not his fault. It's not Coach Cal's fault. It's been up and down. And I know that there were a lot of Arkansas fans that were frustrated with him. Well, all I'll say is and by the way, justifiably, not blaming the fans, but to his credit, what did he have? 16 points, 13 rebounds, something like that. DJ Wagner, 14 points in the second half. So this was, in my opinion, given everything, I think you can argue it's as good of a performance as they've had all year. I think what's also interesting for Arkansas is all of a sudden, a couple of those wins that they had earlier in the year, they're starting to look better and better as the season goes on. Like they beat Georgia, their first SEC win of the season. Georgia all of a sudden can't lose. We're going to talk about Georgia in a minute. Georgia's on a 3-game winning streak. I mean, is Georgia the hottest team in the SEC right now? They might be. Just beat Florida last week. Beat Texas over the weekend. Beat South Carolina on Tuesday. That win is now getting better. Texas, by the way, out of nowhere, beat Mississippi State. That win's getting better. So you don't want to put the cart before the horse. But listen, I think Arkansas fans have to feel like they're in really good shape for the NCAA tournament, because here's why. I understand that the 18 and 12 record right now, listen, it's not the best record in college basketball. I'm not going to sit here and lie. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say that there weren't some frustrating losses at LSU, Oklahoma at home, the game against South Carolina on Saturday. But here's the bottom line. And this is kind of the thing that happens this time of year. When people ask me about tournament resumes, right? Everybody's asking me, Torres, what does my team have to do? What about this? What about that? And I always say, well, it's not just what you're doing. It's you compared to the rest of the field. And for Arkansas, here's where they have to feel good. 5 quad 1 wins after Tuesday night. They have the win at Vandy. They have the win at Kentucky. They have the win at Texas. They have a win at home over Missouri. And so, listen, 18 and 12 doesn't sound great on paper. 5 quad 1 wins matters, okay? Look at the rest of the bubble. It's kind of a disaster. North Carolina, who we're going to talk about in a minute, I actually think they deserve some credit. You know how many quad 1 wins North Carolina has? 1. You know how many SMU has? 0. Xavier, who I think is actually playing really good basketball, 1 quad 1 win right now. That's your competition on the bubble. So listen, I don't want to sit here and say you're in and you're this and you're that. I do think beating Mississippi State on Saturday pretty much clinches it. And I think you go to the SEC tournament next week now playing for seeding. Don't beat Mississippi State. It gets a little bit interesting. But remember, on the bubble, it's not just you. It's what you've done relative to the competition. And you've taken a lot of losses. But guess what? This is where playing in the best league in the history of college basketball certainly helps. The committee understands how tough this league is night in and night out. And so, listen, man, I could go on, but I just want to give credit to Arkansas, man. That I really think, relative to everything, was about as good of a performance as you could have. And again, listen, don't lose to Mississippi State and leave it up to the hands of the committee. But I think if you get to 19 and 12, 5 quad 1 wins. I don't even know if Mississippi State would be a 6th. All I know is now you're talking about going to the SEC tournament. And again, I think you're playing for NCAA tournament seeding, not necessarily anything else.